advances to the Final Four.
Shout out Chillinois Basketball Podcast.
Shout out to Chillinois Podcast.
Shout out Chillinois Podcast.
Shout out Chillinois Basketball, man.
Welcome back to another episode of the Chillinois Basketball Podcast. I'm Chase Swearingen. With me, as always, is Noah Morgano. Not a pretty win last night by the Illini, but they did get the win in the Palestra in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania against Penn State. Another Big Ten road win for the Illini, which are kind of like gold at this time of the year. You want to keep collecting those Big Ten road wins. The Illini win 73-65. This was a game that felt, I don't know, 8 points doesn't seem to do this game justice, I feel like. I thought the Illini they pressed their lead to 14-15, and you thought they maybe could have gotten away with a 20-25 point win. But Penn State would battle back, cut the lead back to 9 or 8. And I don't know. It wasn't, as an Illini fan, it was like this was kind of a letdown of a game almost, but at the same time, you can't be too complacent with a Big Ten win on the road. Uh, there were some things that I think we could take away from this game, and there'll be positives, but I think actually I saw like somebody posted in a forum last night. Actually, the best part about this game is the Illini get a win, and you also get a lot of tape to go through in practices and really be nitpicky with your guys, because this didn't look like the same Illini team that we saw against Southern and that we saw against Missouri, but they still beat a pretty atrocious Penn State team. Now, just first point off the bat, I want to make. It was the first game we saw Keaton Wagler kind of struggle. I mean, he still had 16 points and 3 rebounds. He had 3 assists as well. So he's hitting his season averages in terms of points scored. But he had 4 personal fouls, and he sat for 9 or 10 minutes in the second half, basically from the under 16 timeout all the way to the under 8 timeout because he had foul trouble. This was the first time we've really seen that out of him. But I think the team responded well to that, especially Kylan Boswell, who led the way with 18 points. Is that something you think we should be fearful of in the future, Noah? Do you think Keaton, I don't know, he's been a good defender all year, so I can't say like, oh, he's going to have foul trouble issues going here on forward. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I mean, what do you make of this performance when your best offensive player was out of the game for 12 minutes in the second half?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, with Big Ten refs, anything is possible. You never know when they're going to just start blowing that whistle for no reason. It seemed last night was another one of those scenarios, and fortunately, it really kind of ruined the game. But luckily, Illinois was, you know, got enough of a lead in the first half to kind of weather that storm that Penn State came in with. But honestly, I mean, nobody's individual performance really impressed me. I think Keaton probably was the most impressive, him and Kylan. But it was the fact that he wasn't impressive, yet he still ended up with such a decent box score and such a decent plus minus too. So it really gives me encouragement for the future. The fact that the team can perform so lackluster and still, I mean, like you said, I mean, this was a 15-point game pretty much throughout the entirety until the very end when Penn State, Andre went to go for a layup and missed it, and they didn't call the foul, and that could have easily been a 3-point play. And then Penn State comes back, and I think I don't know if they hit a three or that they scored at the very end. And so, really, I mean, it shouldn't have been an 8-point victory. It should have been more than that. And the fact that they did win by that much and looked so, unimpressive is a good thing in my opinion. But Keaton, being a freshman, you're going to have these games, but unfortunately in the Big Ten, you're going to have them more often than not, I think. But if you're somebody with his composure and his ability to manage the game, I think he'll be able to play through it. And Brad did a pretty good job of managing his time there. I mean, quite honestly, I don't think Penn State was a good enough team. I think Keaton could have been out the entire game, and I think we still would have found a way to win. But that's not going to happen with other teams. Penn State's probably one of the worst teams that you're going to play in the Big Ten. So you just take the win where you can get it, but you would like to see some better performances in the future for sure.
Yeah, when you've got Michigan beating USC by nearly 30 points and putting their foot on
Perez
the
Johnson
gas.
hit a three-pointer. I don't even want to talk about it, but I
Yeah,
think we should.
that was tough to watch. But anyways, I do want to swing back to Keaton Wagler real quick because I said this stat before we got on the podcast. This is just so impressive to me. He played 20 minutes. His plus minus was 17, plus 17. So if you're unfamiliar with the plus minus stat, it's essentially how many points versus how many points your team scores when you're on the court. You subtract how many points the other team scores when that specific player is on the court. Same thing like hockey. That's your plus minus. Now, it just goes to show this team is so much better when Keaton Wagler is running the show, when he's playing the point guard position for the Illini. And it's been impressive to watch this year because you're relying on an 18-year-old and the offense looks most fluid in the hands of an 18-year-old. So that gives me a little bit of concern for the rest of the season, especially when it becomes crunch time with the tournament, the Big Ten tournament. We're going to see how well an 18-year-old can handle that pressure. But, you know, Kylan Boswell's performance gave me a lot of it inspired me as well because it looks to me like when the Illini really need a guy to go to down the stretch, Kylan's going to be the guy that's like, give me the ball. I want the ball in my hands. Um, so he looked good. He looked strong. I thought he kept the offense pretty fluid for the most part. Now, I do want to point out, we mentioned how poorly Penn State plays defense before the game. They did move up in Ken Palm after this game, and I know I texted you. I thought the Penn State defense looked better than the Penn State offense. Um, Neither looked great. It's Penn State, but for a team that was ranked 211 in defensive efficiency and Ken Palm, they're now 193, I think. Um, I mean, their defense looked like it gave the Illini fits at times, and I know if you read up about the Penn State defense, if they were going to do anything, it was cause turnovers. Let me see how many turnovers the Illini had here. 10, which isn't, that's about their season average, so nothing crazy. But when they needed stops, they got turnovers, forced turnovers. It seemed there were a few times where the Illini just made errant passes. They weren't even forced turnovers by the Penn State defense, but got to give credit where credit's due. They held a extremely high scoring Illini offense to 73 points. Um, whether that be because Keaton was out for most of the game or other things going on in the game, that's up for debate. But want to give credit where credit's due because I thought Penn State defensively looked pretty good last night. Offensively, on the other hand, though, I know I texted you this too. They were 8 for 38 from three, which is just like that kind of reminds me of last year's Illini team when fans would groan as we'd shoot threes, like, oh gosh, here's another one, and it would rattle off the rim. And but as a Penn State fan, that's got to be tough to watch your team put up 38 threes and only make eight of them. Now the Illini put up 27 and only made six, so both teams weren't shooting great from the three-point arc. But still, what this showed me is, I guess, Penn State might have been a little bit better than I had expected them to be. But to be fair, they held Michigan State to a pretty close game, the game before they played the Illini. So, um, nonetheless, Penn State defense surprised me because I know we had highlighted that before. Something that also surprised me, Tomislav Ivicic, 17 minutes, 0 points. Uh, didn't really, only two rebounds as well. Not a huge performance from him. And on the flip end, his brother Zvonimir came in and played some inspired basketball, I would say. Had a slam dunk, had 5 blocks, which was crazy impressive. Now, Noah, are you on
They
the?
had another block that they called a goaltending that was
Yeah,
literally not a goaltending at all. That was a completely terrible call.
yeah, I saw that one. I remember which one you're talking about. Now, there's going to be a debate, probably. I mean, it's probably already started. I think it has started a few games ago, but Zvonimir versus Tomislav. Do you think Zvonimir's played his way into this starting lineup? Now, Brad is pretty he's not usually one to flip his starting lineup around. He usually starts his first half players and then keeps them in the second half to start the second half. And you really got to do something or have an injury to crack that starting lineup. But Zvonimir just looks like the better twin brother at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's unfortunate because you know how much potential Tommy has. I mean, last season alone, he was very, very good. But it is interesting because, like we had mentioned on previous episodes, Big Z comes into the team and he was not highly regarded. I mean, he didn't have impressive performances at Kentucky or Arkansas, and people were expecting him to be 10, maybe 15 minutes at most per game, 5 points, maybe a block or two. But I mean, he's really, really been impressive, and I think it's because he has his brother here, and he's got friends he's surrounded by, and they're all Balkan, and he's just in his element right now, and so it's super impressive. But it makes you wonder, what's happening with Tommy? Why is Tommy struggling? Does Tommy even really care? I mean, maybe he's happy that his brother's getting so much playing time. Maybe he doesn't feel like he needs to play 30 minutes a game. So it's kind of like, who would you rather have out there? I think different guys are better for different scenarios. In a game like this, Big Z is going to be a little bit better of a choice just because you're playing against a not as athletic team in Penn State, and you can really take advantage under the basket with those blocks and the rim protection. But, a team like Michigan, you might not expect Big Z to get many blocks on Merez or Yaxel, so maybe then you do want to revert to a Tommy and play more on the perimeter. But Big Z can hit him, hit the three as well. So it's really interesting, and like many other people that do Illinois content, they look at the two as a pair, as one player essentially. And so when you do that, you're looking at a really, really good college basketball player and probably first team all Big Ten. But it's one of those scenarios where you almost don't want to mess with it because it's working, right? If Big Z's scoring points and getting minutes, I mean, he got more minutes than Tommy last night, so I don't see what difference it makes if he starts, if he doesn't start, if he's playing more minutes. So I say keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, if he becomes drastically, different and Z's just so much better, then sure, start him. But I don't think that's necessarily the case right now. I think that they're both fine with the minutes they're getting.
Yeah, and there's some talk too. If you watch the press game or the post game conference last night, Brad said Penn State defensively was double teaming Tommy pretty much every possession. So a lot of talk about like maybe Tommy should have done more inside, gotten up a few inside shots. But I think Penn State's defense really gave him some fits, and I don't think that bothers Brad too much. He trusts Tommy. This is a guy who's been in his program 2 years now. So as far as college basketball goes, that's a long time. I'm hopeful he'll turn it around, but I would like to see him turn it around in the next few games here because, as we've alluded to before, there's kind of a stretch here for the Illini where they could take advantage of some of these matchups. And if you want to see Tommy get going at any point in the season, these next few games would be especially advantageous for him to have some big games and get his confidence back at least. Now, back to Zvonimir for a second because I was just going through like the block stats on college basketball on ESPN. Um, Zvonimir currently averages 2.5 per game. I don't know if that's updated after last night, but he's 15, and there are some ties in terms of like players above him. But he is 15th in the country in terms of blocks per game at 2.5. Now, every other player above him averages over 20 minutes per game. Like the fewest minutes per game from any player above him being 21 minutes per game, or I'm sorry, 20.4. Zvonimir averages 17 and a half. So I mean, you give
And I
him
wonder
another 6 minutes.
what leagues these guys are playing in. I mean, Big Ten is not an easy league to get to block
Yeah.
shots. I mean, it's
At the
probably the
top
toughest.
is a guy from SF Austin, so Brad's former school.
Right.
Then you got a guy from Syracuse and William Kyle. Then you got a guy at UC Irvine, Providence, FAU. So yeah, not Big Ten players. There are some SEC guys scrambled or scattered in there, but nonetheless, I just wanted to point that out because it's like, if you give Z 6 or 7 more minutes per game, get him up to 23 a game, he might be leading the country in blocks per game. And it certainly affects how offenses game plan against the Illini because when he's in there, it's hard to score a layup. Like he's a rim protector, especially if you're a smaller guard. I don't know how I would play offensively if I had to go up against a guy who was 7'2". I've never done it before, but I certainly don't have many ideas for how I would score besides pass the ball to somebody else. Anyways, I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's a
Did you
pretty
see
important
that
fact.
dunk that he had?
Yeah,
That was crazy. I mean,
his
I
head
was
was
out of my
above the
seat.
rim.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that came off of or that was a Mirkovic assist, but I wanted to bring up Petrovic too because he played 4 minutes. Mihailo Petrovic didn't play that impressively against Southern the game before, and we were kind of hoping for more from him. Now, I thought he'd play a little bit more just because Keaton had foul trouble early. Um, the team looked okay with Kylan running the show, so I'm not concerned about that. But in the few minutes that Petrovic did play, were you impressed? Do you think this is a good performance going forward at least?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he had a nice assist to Mirkovic. It was
Hmm.
a layup or something like that. I can't remember,
A
but
nifty little Euro step actually in transition.
yeah, and yeah, that Euro step that was actually pretty sweet. But I mean, 4 minutes, what can you really do? I mean, I was pretty impressed with it. I was happy he got in. I thought he'd play more. I mean, when Keaton was in foul trouble early, we were texting each other like, "Oh, it's Petro time, Petro time." So surprised he didn't play more minutes. Brandon Lee played a few minutes as well. I think Brad's just kind of in that situation. He's trying to figure out how to play both of them and get them both on the court at least. But it's tough, when you got such good guards already that are in Keaton and Kylan. But I was not upset with the performance at all. I think that it was for 4 minutes, I think it was exactly what you could expect from him. And as long as he's not turning it over, which did he have any turnovers? I don't
No,
recall him
none
having.
yesterday.
Yeah,
He had a
that's good,
steal actually.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, yeah. But and I think against a team like Penn State, he's gonna have the ability to play a little bit stronger just because they're again, not the biggest or fastest team. But, I'd like to see some shots from Petro eventually. I feel like he's more so just trying to get his assists going right now, and that's probably just because he doesn't want to, I think the outsiders are looking at him as like, oh, he's this insane, Braden Smith. He was already compared to Braden Smith, and this happens every year. We get people compare players to people who they shouldn't be comparing them to. Last year it was the Dalton Connect. This year it's Mihailo Petrovic is Braden Smith, but not as good of a shooter. So I think he's really trying to show his passing chops, but I wouldn't mind seeing him shoot the ball, maybe not even necessarily threes, just whatever you can get, just open looks, do what Curbelo did, just dribble around the court until you can get a layup. So,
He did
but
have
overall,
he did have one shot last night, but it was one of those like short bunny layups that he kind of missed. He came off a curl. He got to the basket quickly, which like. He's been impressive in the minutes he's played, like at least getting to the rim. Uh, Sahil alluded to it too. He just can't finish around the rim, unfortunately. He's doesn't have that Curbelo finishing ability in his game yet. I'm not sure if it's something he had in Serbia when he was playing in Europe or if it's just something he's lost at the moment. He does look smaller than 6'2". I know we were texting about that last night. I don't think he's 6'2".
there is no shot that he is 6'2". I mean, dude, there's just no shot unless everybody else out there's 7'3".
Yeah, if he's 6'2", I would happily go ahead and put 6 foot on my dating profiles, which would be a lie. I'm only 5'10", so but I don't know if college basketball teams are doing it. Maybe we should too. Anyways, I do want to bring up Mirkovic. More so just because you called him having a big game. He had another double-double. I think that's his sixth or seventh double-double of the season. 13 and 10 from him. Anything particularly impressive that you saw? And that's the thing about Mirkovic. None of his game besides the rebounding is like particularly crazy. So he doesn't have like highlight reel plays or anything, but I'd argue 13 and 10 last night from him was pretty quiet. I know he got to the boards pretty aggressively, but that's your guy, Noah. So any takes on him?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty impressed with his performance last night. I mean, he hit a couple threes and
He actually hit zero threes.
oh, well, he took a couple threes. How
He
many
did
threes
take
did
a
he take?
couple.
Listen, this is why you tune into Chillinois basketball because we have all the up-to-date news and information on Illinois. He made at least 15 threes last night, so I was really impressed with his performance. No, but in all reality, I mean, there was that Euro step. That did happen. I
Yeah.
did see that. Now I will say that I turned on the game. There was probably only about 12 minutes in the first half when I turned it on, so I missed the very beginning of the game, but I mean, from what I remember, he was solid. I mean, like you said, he didn't stand out in particular. He wasn't Jokic necessarily last night, but
Yeah.
I think what he was able to provide, the he was hyped up. I mean, I'm just gonna say he was hyped up. I mean, that there was a clip, and I wish we can get the other camera angle from the front when Z made that dunk, and Merck hit him with the he hit him with it, dude. The friggin' Spider-Man Green Goblin tongue waggle. I mean, and it was the full-on thing too. So I really hope we can get that camera footage for the intro on the channel.
Maybe we'll make
But
that like a thumbnail or something.
oh yeah, I mean, either way, I was impressed. Whether he made any threes or not, I swear that no, I think that box score's off because and maybe it's just me envisioning him just splashing from all around the arc, but he was impressive. I mean, I thought he was the most impressive player in the game until I looked back at the box score and I was like, oh, I guess Keaton and Kylan actually did do pretty good. But no, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it was a solid performance, and from your freshman, that's all you can ask for, especially in the Big Ten. And he didn't look like he was playing too out of control at any point. He did have four personal fouls, so he did get in a little bit of foul trouble at the end. But nonetheless, a double-double from your freshman forward, you're not going to complain with that. Um, I thought he did pretty well defensively too. Their Europeans did not look very. Actually, the one that played the most impressively was Sasha Ciani, and he's the one that gets the least minutes typically. Tibor and Ivan, they weren't as scary as their names sound, not at least in my opinion. But
Thank God. I was really worried about that. And hey, guess what? We're 1-1 now against Turkey. So we got
oh,
that
we
going
are,
for
yeah.
us.
Yeah, no, actually, that Tuncha guard was pretty good, but not as good as Buchtenjel, and obviously not as important to his team. Now we're gonna have a preview video for the Rutgers game coming up on, I believe it's Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night at home against Rutgers, 7:30 p.m. again on the Big Ten Network. We'll have a preview video for that before that game actually happens. So we'll dive deeper into this Rutgers team, who arguably is worse than Penn State. They're 0-3 in the Big Ten right now, but we'll have more details on that game coming up. I do want to announce Noah and I will actually be at the Northwestern game on the 14th of January, so 10 days from now. We're going to have both of us in Evanston. Not sure what we'll do for like content, but since we'll both be there, I imagine we have to get something going.
Dude, I gotta get a pair of those Ray-Ban Meta glasses and just record the whole thing and just walk around like
Just
first
interactions
person.
with people. I don't,
Yeah. Northwestern fans are pretty nice. I mean,
that's true.
we should be able to go decked out in the Illini gear and not have to worry about anybody beating us up or anything like that.
I don't know how many times you've been to a game in Evanston recently, at least, but I would be shocked if it wasn't like 60% Illinois fans. It usually is. We have a pretty strong alumni fan base in the Chicago area. So,
Well, I went for the DePaul game maybe a few years ago, and I mean, I don't even want to talk about that. That was one of the worst beatdowns that DePaul's ever received in recent memory. I mean, it was terrible, but it's a nice stadium, honestly. The parking's easy, just you pull right up, the concessions, it's all, it's nothing like woo, but it's solid, it gets the job done. Watch a good ball game, and it's way, way easier to get to than some of these other stadiums.
and the best part is there's not a bad seat in the house. I think we're in the 200 section, which is the highest it goes, but we'll still be able to see the court pretty clearly.
And
Anyways,
you best believe we are going to be trying to get Illinois players to shout out the Chillinois basketball
we'll have to, I
podcast.
mean, we're going to collect them all like Pokemon at this point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
um,
even if nobody wants to do it, we'll know Merck will do it again. He'll always give us a shout out.
shout out to Chillinois podcast. That was a good one. All right. Well, we'll have a recap or a preview video for Rutgers. Pretty important stretch of games, like we were saying for the Illini, but Noah and I will be at the Northwestern game on the 14th. The Illini play on Thursday, the 8th, against Rutgers. That'll be at home. We'll have a preview for that one, like I said. But starting off 2026 with a win, can't complain too much. 1-0 in the new year. Uh,
My prediction was off, by the way. I predicted 102 points from the Illini, and it just I don't know why I thought that was going to happen in the Palestra. Like obviously that's not going to happen, but I will take the L on that one.
I messaged Sahil last night during the because he was like sitting in the media press row area and he had his own name tag printed out for him and everything said Daily Illini, which I thought was pretty cool. Uh, I messaged him and asked him how the environment was, and he said it was not what he expected. So I think he was a little underwhelmed. Um, the one thing I didn't, I mean, I guess after watching the game last night and hearing the history of it, I suppose it is a pretty important college basketball venue. But to me, it's like they haven't really hosted a tournament game since the 70s. it's a lot like bragging about the Palestra to me is a lot like Indiana fans bragging about their national championships. Because I don't think if you haven't won anything since the Cold War happened, I'm not sure you can brag about those victories.
Well, and I will say it was nice seeing Fran McCaffrey pull up because he's the coach of Penn, so he was
Yeah,
there, and I'm sure he was rooting for Brad and the Illini. I think they look like they were chumming it up. I mean, Orlando was they were all vibing and good times. Maybe we bring if Fran doesn't work out with Penn, maybe we bring him on as an assistant and send him out to Serbia and have him speak in Croatian to get some of
that would
these
be interesting
guys.
to watch because Fran's kind of a hothead, so they might go at it,
He's just
saying
trying
words to
to
each other they don't
read the
understand.
the translator. He's like reading the dictionary. He's like, Bobo Tokyo, Bobo Tokyo.
Yeah, something like that is how it would go down probably. Anyways, Illini off to a good start in 2026. 1-0 in the new year against Penn State. They took them down last night by a final score of 73 to 65, so 8-point win. We'll have another preview for you coming up in the next few days against Rutgers, so be on the lookout for that. Happy New Year to everybody, all our listeners. Happy 2026 and ILL.
I and I.